The Gambia plans to revive structures put in place to prevent the country from Ebola disease. U.S. President commemorates 500,000 lives lost to COVID-19 and describes it as truly heartbreaking. WHO director shows displeasure in the manner developed countries are undermining COVID-19 vaccine distribution process. These and more coming on the world today. Do stay with us. Good evening, this is the World News Bulletin with me, Sahna Tunkara, and now to our news in detail. Guinea-Conakry is experiencing a resurgence of the Ebola outbreak, signaling alert for sub-regional countries to tighten measures to avert another outbreak. Gambian authorities say the country would revive measures put in place some years ago to prevent the strike of the disease. More details in this report by OIC.
The Ebola outbreak that ravaged West Africa from 2014 to 2016, killing thousands of people, mostly in Guinea-Conakry and DR Congo, has found its way back. The contagious disease is deadlier than the current global coronavirus pandemic. As the world is faced with the coronavirus pandemic, the Gambia intends to revive structures in case it encounters the Ebola outbreak.
We understand that an outbreak occurred in Guinea and not only the Gambia, almost most of the countries in the region currently have preparing themselves. And for the case of the Gambia, this is not the first time. It could be recalled about 5 years ago. Ebola actually broke out in West Africa, and the countries that were mostly affected were Guinea, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. And thank God, Gambia didn't report any case then.
When the disease first broke in West Africa, other sub-regions put stringent measures in place to prevent the virus infection. The Gambia's Deputy Director of Health Promotion, Sanjali Traveler, says the country is aware of the resurgence and are cautious of it.
And the plan is already there because the plan we had during that time can still be revived. We can review it. So we already have the plan, and it can also be recalled during that time some of the health workers were trained, so we only need to refresh their memory just to retain them. So meaning that I think we had that opportunity during that time, so all the available resources we had during that time can just be reviewed and updated. So I think we still have that opportunity.
Although Gambia has never experienced the Ebola outbreak, but stringent and preventive guidelines were observed. People were compelled to observe personal hygiene in public places, such as frequent washing of hands, avoiding close physical contact with people showing symptoms of the disease, among others. The 2014 to 2016 Ebola outbreak in West Africa began in a rural setting of Guinea and spread across the country within weeks, and later became a global epidemic. The outbreak ended with more than 28,600 cases and 11,325 deaths. The resurgence of the disease found Guinea battling with the COVID-19 pandemic, but response measures have been initiated, and the World Health Organization is supporting the country with vaccines to contain its spread. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am Daisy.
And from that report by Ndaisise on the Gambia reviving structures to fight against the Ebola disease, we move on to the matters of the Truth Commission. Following Monday's testimony of 2 victims who alleged torture and unlawful detention from Jammeh's bulldozers, the alleged killer of Jammeh, Amadou Bojang, today appeared before the commission. The witness said the former president has low regard for the law. Here is more of that in this narration by Khadija.
Captain Amadou Bojang narrates his unlawful arrest and detention to the Truth, Reconciliation and Reparation Commission on Tuesday. Mr. Bojang says he was made to surrender himself under arrest without reason. Bojang believes his arrest was unlawful. Jammeh does not respect the laws governing the country.
Firstly, our company commanders were not aware The commandant was not aware. Sorry, the chief instructor was not aware. And also the commandant also was not aware. The chief of defense staff was not aware. And if the matter has to be treated at the commander-in-chief's level, I felt it was an overreaction.
But that statement, it was an overreaction, that is in fact an understatement. He violated the laws of this country.
Commissioner, I call landed Tambekela. Womukata Feneti Mianko found. I lua letnya, lua Sarol Milanda, Abota Water.
That is true.
In effect, you saying that our then president, Yaya Jammeh, did not respect the law.
I come for the the law President Kotoni, Yaya Jammeh, I'm on Lua Bunya.
That's true.
Mr. Bojang concurs with the late counsel that he was not versed in the laws, and so there were many human rights violations in executing their duties as bulldozers.
You said you did not know the law. You definitely could not have implemented the law.
Personally, yes.
And you could not have supervised the proper implementation of the law. Because you did not know it. And you would agree with me that a lot of rights violations could have and perhaps indeed occurred simply because you did not know what the law was.
That's true.
Mr. Bojang says Ibrahim Keita and Musa Fofana were arrested in connection to an assassination plan on the then president.
The information I received. There were some Gambian dissidents who were in support of the then demonstration.
The demonstrations or the planned or envisaged demonstration?
There was a demonstration prior to that. That was the Solo Sanden demonstration. And the subsequent UDP executive arrest also. After that, it was suggested that there is a plan, according to the information, there was a planned demonstration to that. But this demonstration was going to be supported by the military incursion. That would have been the ultimate assassination of the president.
The bulldozer comprises different security personnel of the Gambia Armed Forces. Since its inception, it has registered several human rights violations. It was believed that when people are refusing to talk to the defunct NIA, they were usually taken to the bulldozer complex for intimidation and torture. Reporting for African News, I am Khadijatu Seka.
More witnesses continue to appear before the Gambia's Truth Commission to give narration of their ordeals. Now, moving on, U.S. President Joe Biden on Monday led Americans to observe a moment of silence to commemorate the many lives lost over the past years. 500,000 people died from COVID-19 in the U.S., which President Joe Biden described as a truly heartbreaking moment. Details in this report. The White House was lighted with hundreds of candles representing the lives of the people who were taken away by COVID. President Biden and the First Lady observed a moment of silence in honor of the COVID-19 victims. Joe Biden says the coronavirus causes pain and heartbreaking moment in the U.S.
I receive a small card in my pocket that I carry with me in my schedule. It shows the number of Americans who have been infected by or died from COVID-19. Today we mark a truly grim, heartbreaking milestone. 500,071 dead. That's more Americans who have died in 1 year in this pandemic than in World War I, World War II, and the Vietnam War combined.
America is one of the countries that has been hit hardest by the virus, and the country still continue to record new infections and deaths on a daily basis. President Biden also acknowledged that the mass death and lost lives will continue to be remembered. He says they shared the pain with all the affected people in this difficult moment.
We'll remember each person we've lost, the lives they lived, the loved ones they left behind. We will get through this, I promise you. But my heart aches for you, those of you who are going through it right now. May God bless you all, particularly those who've lost someone. God bless you.
In recent weeks, COVID-19 infection rates have been reported to have dropped in the U.S. as the Biden administration widened its efforts to contain the virus with mass vaccination campaign to curtail the rapid spread of the virus. In remembering the death, Mr. Biden renewed his call in the fight against the pandemic.
As a nation, we can't accept such a cruel fate. While we've been fighting this pandemic for so long, we have to resist becoming numb to the sorrow. We have to resist viewing each life as a statistic or a blur or on the news. As a nation, we cannot and we must not let this go on. That's why the day before my inauguration at the COVID-19 Memorial at the Reflecting Pool on the National Mall, I said, to heal, we must remember.
When the novel coronavirus was confirmed in the U.S., former President Donald Trump downplayed the threat of the virus, calling it a Chinese virus, and the need to enact strict public measures to cope its spread were mostly neglected, leading to its rapid surge in different parts in the country. Many Americans, including health experts, believed that the number of infections could have been averted if more seriousness were put in place by the ex-president Donald Trump. For African News, Sohna Tunkara.
The unfortunate coronavirus pandemic continued to ravage the world as millions of lives were lost. Now, the Director General of the World Health Organization is displeased with the way developed nations are undermining the fair distribution of COVID-19 vaccines. Most of the rolled-out coronavirus medicines are purchased by high-income countries, leaving many other nations scrambling for doses to vaccinate their people. The ICC gives us a rundown of that in this report.
According to the WHO, about 90 countries are currently administering COVID-19 vaccines. 57 of these are high-income countries and 33 are middle-income countries. Many developing countries, mainly in Africa, have been struggling to acquire the COVID-19 vaccines, which is largely attributed to developed nations undermining the COVID-19 vaccines global access initiative. The WHO Director General, Dr. Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus, is displeased that high-income countries are making contracts with vaccine manufacturers, which undermines the deals of COVAX.
If there are no vaccines to buy, money is irrelevant. Currently, some high-income countries are entering contracts with vaccine manufacturers that undermine the deals that COVAX has in place and reduce the number of doses COVAX can buy. Even if we have the funds, we can only deliver vaccines to poorer countries if high-income countries cooperate in respecting the deals COVAX has done and the new deals it's doing.
The Global Health Organization initiated COVAX to help coordinate international resources to enable equitable access of COVID-19 vaccines, diagnostics, and treatments. The WHO chief also calls for more collaboration in fight against the pandemic.
The G7 countries have shown leadership, but we need all countries to step up. We still face a gap of at least $22.9 billion to fully finance the ACT Accelerator this year.
Speaking through a video link, President Biden's chief medical advisor, Anthony Fauci, highlighted the need for equal distribution of the COVID-19 vaccines.
The challenge is that clearly we need to get vaccines produced and distributed in an equitable way, not only in the United States, because it is clear that each country must take care of their own, but also the equitable distribution, as mentioned by Dr. Tedros, of vaccines, so that we realize that this is a global pandemic requiring a global response.
Several vaccines against the virus have now been approved for use, either by individual countries or groups of countries, such as the European Union and the World Health Organization. Some countries have secured more vaccine doses than their population need, while other income countries are relying on the COVAX Vaccines Initiative, which is seek to ensure that everyone gets access to COVID-19 vaccines. Reporting for iAfrica News, I am DCC.
The WHO director is displeased in the manner developed countries are undermining the vaccination process. More to come on the world today after the short commercial break. Do stay with us.
Hello, AfriCell people. AfriCell has done it again.
What is it this time?
Simply use your AfriMoney account to buy credit, data, and cash power to get the chance to win up to $500,000.
That is fantastic.
If you don't have an AfriMoney account, now is the perfect time to get it. Call 777 to activate your AfriMoney account and increase your chances to win up to $500,000.
Where AfriCell goes, nobody dares to follow. Tired of seeing the message you have insufficient funds in your account? Worry no more. With AfriCell, the cholera credit just got way better.
Now you can continue your conversations with your loved ones. With the new cholera credit, you can now borrow up to $250 credit. Send a blank SMS to 152 to get your cholera credit and activate the service of your choice. For more info, please call 111.
Where AfriCell goes, nobody dares to follow.
Welcome back. This is the World News Bulletin, and now to the rest of our stories. Mama Kande, the party leader of Gambia Democratic Party, and representatives of other political parties on Saturday attended the National Congress of the APRC to show solidarity with the former ruling party. The Congress availed the Green Party the opportunity to reminisce on the past and chart a way forward ahead of the forthcoming elections. Binta Jallo has the rest of that in the story.
Representatives of the different political parties, including the Gambia Democratic Congress Party, GDC, attended the APRC National Congress to show solidarity with the Green Party. Mama Kande, who was one-time member of the former ruling party, said their presence at the Congress was to show unity among the political parties. Kande also highlighted the significance of their attendance to the Congress.
Well, I will have to congratulate the APRC. I think everything was well organized, and this is nothing new in the APRC because it's a party that has been existing for more than 20 years. So they really know what they're doing, and I think I'm happy myself being here and seeing the way they organize things, and I'm congratulating them for a job well done. I mean, being from another political party does not mean that I'm not a Gambian. I'm a Gambian, and we are all talking about the same Gambia. So it doesn't matter which party you come from. What matters here is the Gambia, and this is what matters for us all.
Almami Fandintal, the spokesperson of the United Democratic Party, UDP, says their attendance signifies the act of democracy and to foster unity among political parties.
It's a sign of a healthy democracy in the Gambia. Since 2016, we have had congresses where we invite each other to signify goodwill and good faith and our faith in the democratic change of government that happened since 2016. So it's a very, very significant day for Gambians.
Also speaking to iAfrica TV, Citizens Alliance and Gambia Action Party representatives underscored the essence of attending each other's events.
To be here to witness such a very, very important occasion. I mean, congresses is something that all parties are supposed to do. It's a mandatory occasion that all political parties are supposed to do, at least I think every 2 years. And it's very, very important that if political parties try to fulfill their obligations as parties. So we had our Congress, and we extended an invitation to them, and they were in attendance.
Well, the significance of that is that it is one Gambia. regardless of how many political parties there are, at the end of the day, we're all working to create a better country for all of us. And we accepted the invitation and honor it by showing that we are in agreement that Gambia is bigger than all of us and that it's everybody's responsibility, regardless of political affiliation, to try to come together and work for the country.
Political parties are the guardians of democracy, as outlined in the Memorandum of Understanding signed in 2017 that seeks to govern their inter-party relations. The Alliance for Patriotic Reorientation and Construction Party held their 7th National Congress with a renewed commitment to sweep the December 4th presidential polls with a strong Back to State House campaign. Reporting for iAfrica TV, Binta Jallo.
From Gambia's political arena, moving on to the global front, South Africa's government's decision to ban alcohol business has adversely affected the industry as thousands of employees lost their jobs. The move is part of efforts to contain the COVID-19 pandemic in the country, but it has also triggered a revenue deficit for the government. The alcohol industry contributes over 1% of the country's GDP. Details in this report.
The report estimates that there have been 200,000 job losses in the alcohol industry, but it's also about the duties lost to the government coffers.
There's around 87 billion that's estimated to have lost just on your excise duties alone. So considering South Africa's current fiscal situation, that is important revenue that can really be ill afforded to have been gone. Overall, sales down from around 2019 for the 2020 period is down 17%. And, of the sectors that have been hit the hardest, it's the beer and the wine sectors, which plays an important role in our tourism economy as well.
The alcohol sector is counting the cost of sales and export bans, no more so than the wine sector, which supports 269,000 people and contributes 1.1% to the country's GDP.
As a direct result of these alcohol bans, domestic wine sales were down by 20% in volume. And additionally, the 5-week export ban resulted in 300 million litres of uncontracted wine within 640 million litres of stock, at a time when the industry had commenced with the 2021 harvest, which created a stock dilemma.
The beer industry has also been severely affected.
And with beer sales having declined by 195 million litres, and a large proportion, as you can imagine, having to be dumped. And this is also, with the dumping, you also have to pay SARS to actually dump your alcohol that has expired.
The craft beer brewing sector has also felt the effects of government measures, with small business debt levels skyrocketing.
A lot of people had IDC loans, and IDC has been calling on now the loan repayments. And I think that, it is really disappointing because a lot of these are government branches, and you would think that they would be a little bit more sensitive to the plight of the industry.
Perhaps as concerning are the long-term impacts on the wine export ban.
Our South African wine producers have to fight quite hard with our overseas counterparts to get that valuable shelf space in overseas markets, etc. So that will take many, many years and estimates up to around a decade to rectify the impact.
It's uncertain how long it's going to take for the alcohol sector to recover from the curfews, the alcohol bans, and the different lockdown levels. What's of more concern, though, is what's going to happen to the value chains leading into those different subsectors.
Still on the global front and in Tunisia, health experts have confirmed the first casualty of the new COVID-19 variant as authorities intensify efforts to contain the spread of the virus. As the North African country continues to witness more infections, authorities have warned citizens against complacence. More in this report.
A team of Tunisian researchers conducted genome sequence analysis and detected the new local variant that was found in a patient admitted at the Munjislim hospital. Researchers at the health department are keen to determine how the novel coronavirus has evolved.
We detected one mutation which is common on some of the variants that exist now in Britain, in Brazil, in South Africa. And this is one mutation, but with other mutations that are new, that did not exist in the variants in Europe and other places in the world.
Some experts at the Pasteur Institute in Tunis have warned about the highly transmissible new COVID variants and the danger they could pose through vaccine resistance.
Now, the hypothesis that the variant could escape immune response exists, so we have to do investigation in vitro in the laboratory in order to check if the antibodies that are developed after vaccination are effective against the new variant. This should be done.
Tunisia's Minister of Health says public hospitals and private clinics are struggling to cope with a quick rise in the number of COVID-19 cases.
We've recorded serious shortages in intensive care beds despite the efforts made to increase their number. ICU beds in public hospitals are about 90% full as COVID-19 cases surge.
According to the National Observatory of New and Emerging Diseases, an asymptomatic patient aged 17 who carries the new strain was admitted to hospital. The COVID-19 Advisory Board at the Health Department has revealed that the first screening results have not shown any severity of the new variant, either in terms of symptoms or speed of spread. Health authorities have urged citizens to strictly observe preventive measures.
And with that, we wrap up the World News Bulletin. I am Sohna Tunkara. Thanks for joining and have a nice evening.
Gambia may be the smallest country in Africa, but it will host the second largest gathering of world leaders in 2022. To successfully host the OIC Summit and put the Gambia on the global stage, the government of the Gambia set up OIC